I never expected to find love on a blind date, until a college girl captured my heart. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The rain beat against the windows like fists, a determined rhythm that mirrored my heart. I was a bundle of nerves, seated in a quiet cafe that smelled of bitter coffee and sweet pastries, waiting for someone I'd never met. The faces passed by, some cheerful, some lost in their own world, but none caught my attention. Then, she walked in. She stood there, soaking wet, droplets glistening on her hair like diamonds. It's as if the universe was spotlighting her at that moment. My breath hitched. Her eyes scanned the room, and when they locked onto mine, it felt electric. I knew at that moment it would not just be a date. A part of me trembled with excitement, while another part screamed to let me run. Her name was Mia, and she carried an air of mystery. Underneath that soft smile lay an untold story, shadows dancing behind her laughter. I wondered what made her this way. What secrets did she keep? As we talked, her words flowed like a dangerous current, pulling me further into her world. She spoke of dreams yet to be fulfilled and fears that haunted her nights. I felt every word crash into my chest, tightening it until I could barely breathe, but just as the connection blossomed, the tension shifted. A stranger burst through the door, panting, eyes wild. Mia! His voice tore through the cafe's cozy atmosphere, startling us both. The moment shattered. I watched her face change. In the blink of an eye, the spark in her eyes dimmed. She stood frozen, like a deer caught in headlights. The tremor in her hands told me every Thinjit was not someone from her past she wanted to see. Something darker loomed. Who is he? My voice trembled with the weight of the unknown. Her gaze faltered. The cafe's sounds blurred into a distant drone, heartbeats echoing in my ears. Suddenly, the warmth faded, leaving only a cold chill between us. Without thinking, I reached for her hand, desperate to pull her back from the edge. A fleeting moment of comfort before reality crashed again. The stranger took a step closer, faces locked in a silent duel. A veil of fear enveloped Mia, and I knew then, I had stumbled into something much bigger than a casual meeting. Why was he here? What did he want? Please, let's go, she whispered, her voice shaky but resolute. My mind raced, the world around me spinning. I had wanted to explore this connection, but now I was anchored in uncertainty. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As we stepped out into the downpour, the once familiar streets twisted into a chaotic blur of colors and lights, each raindrop a reminder of the darkness now woven into our evening. Mia's hand slipped from mine as she searched for her phone, the glow illuminating her face, casting shadows across her features that sent a shiver down my spine. There was something primal in the way she turned, her body blocking any semblance of ease I had felt moments before. What if he finds me? She breathed, her eyes wide. The panic rippling through her voice anchored me in place. All at once, I was flooded with a sense of urgency and fear for her safety. I had met her just hours ago, but my heart was already tethered to her like a lifeline in a stormy sea. No one is going to find you, I said strongly, my own heart pounding against my ribs. Let's get out of here. You can stay at my place until no. She shook her head violently, shutting down the suggestion before it could even settle between us. I can't put you in danger. A flash of hurt flickered across my chest, but I swallowed it down. This was not about me, it was about her. I looked up and down the street, where the rain turned the pavement slick and shiny, and for a heartbeat, I wished I could sweep her away, whisk her off to a place where fear and shadows didn't exist. Can we just walk? I suggested, taking a tentative step forward. Mia hesitated, eyes darting back to the cafe, where the stranger stood, a tall silhouette against the fogged glass. Please, I added, hoping to reassure her with even the slightest flicker of warmth in my voice. Reluctantly, she nodded, and we began to move. The rain cascaded around us, mingling with the remnants of the evening's silence. I stole glances at her now and then, searching for any sign that she might let down her guard, but her brow remained furrowed, lost in thoughts I wished I could penetrate. As we walked, raindrops dripped from the tips of her hair onto her cheeks, mingling with the salty tears I feared lurked just beneath the surface. I wanted to reach out, to wipe them away, but I was tethered by unspoken boundaries. Instead, I focused silently on where we were headed. If only I had known then the significance of that walk. We found ourselves at a small park, its dimly lit pathways leading into a secluded area where the trees created a canopy, interwoven branches blocking the world out. Outside, chaos lurked, but here, it felt strangely calm, a sanctuary amidst the storm. As we settled onto a damp bench, I realized that under the blanket of night, with shadows cradling us, there was something almost sacred about this moment. Mia, I finally said, my voice soft, breaking the fragile silence. You can talk to me. Whatever it is, no. She interrupted, her eyes flashing with an emotion that was almost fearsome. You don't understand. It's not just some problem. It's complicated. And yet, there it was, the vulnerability in her voice gave way to a crack in her armor. I'll do whatever it takes to help you. Just tell me what you're afraid of, I urged, my heart racing with a blend of determination and dread. For a moment, she closed her eyes, as if summoning strength from within. I can't expose you to this. But I caught the edge of her vulnerability slipping through her shield, cracking even further with each passing moment. I reached for her hand again, this time more forcefully, threading my fingers through hers despite the chill that bounded through my veins. Mia, you are not alone in this. Her eyes flickered up to meet mine, the flicker of hope caught in the turmoil until just then I heard footsteps approaching through the mud-slicked paths. My heart sank as I turned, but it wasn't the stranger. Instead, an elderly man appeared, umbrella clasped tight against the relentless rain, a gentle smile lighting up his weathered face. Even this kind of storm can't dampen a heart in love, he said, his voice rich with warmth as he passed by, leaving behind the faint scent of damp earth and something sweet like a flicker of hope. I felt Mia relax slightly beside me. As if the stranger's presence had reminded her that safety could sometimes be found in the unlikeliest of moments, but just then, without warning, a car skidded to a stop near where we'd been sitting, tires splashing water in wild arcs. My heart dropped once more as the same stranger from the cafe emerged, his eyes darting around with a frantic intensity. He paused for a moment, locking eyes with Mia, and in that brief exchange, I saw her whole world imploding again. Mia! He shouted, his voice cutting through the rain like a knife. The fear blossoming on her face returned tenfold, compelling me to stand, to defend her against this haunting edge of the past returned. Run! I yelled, gripping her hand tighter as I pulled her to her feet, but she didn't move. The shock paralyzed her as we stared at the car, and I could feel the pulse of impending disaster humming between us. Get away from him! I shouted, stepping in front of her, ready to face whatever storm the future held. In that moment, things would never be the same. The rain seemed to amplify the chaos around us, every droplet a reminder of how quickly life can spiral out of control. Mia's breath quivered beside me, panic weaving through her expression as she stood frozen. She looked at me like I was the anchor in her storm, but I could feel that weight pressing more heavily with every heartbeat. Stay behind me, I urged, my voice steady but laced with anxiety. The stranger's presence loomed, and I could sense his determination, a predator circling the fragile prey he believed he had cornered. Mia! He called again, the desperation in his voice coiling tighter around us. You don't have to do this. Just come with me. Who is he? I asked, glancing back at her. A myriad of emotions flashed in her eyes, fear, pain, guilt, and I yearned to pull her against me, to shield her not just from physical harm but from the turbulent emotions rattling her core. That he was, she began, but her voice faltered, and the words caught in her throat like a cord unstruck. He's someone. It doesn't matter. I interjected, stepping closer to her, instinctively blocking her from view of the figure advancing towards us. Whatever it is, you don't owe him anything. Mia's gaze drifted between me and the stranger, torn between the sanctuary I offered and the chaos her past dictated. I could see the struggle waging inside her like a wild animal caught between the instinct to flee and the instinct to fight. He's dangerous, she finally whispered, the weight of those words thrumming through the air. I won't let him hurt you. The conviction in my voice surprised even me, but I meant it with every fiber of my being. I could feel the tendrils of fear creeping up my spine, threatening to wrap around my own heart, but I wouldn't let them take root. Not tonight. Not when she needed me most. Why are you doing this? She asked, her voice trembling. You don't even know me. Maybe I don't know everything about you, I answered, but I know enough to see the light you carry inside. That's worth protecting. MIA's eyes softened for just a moment, and I dared to hope that my words had reached her. But the moment broke as the stranger took another step forward, his determination sharpening into something darker. You don't understand, Mia. You're in danger, and I'm the only one who can help you. A flicker of uncertainty crossed her face at his words. I could see the creases of doubt forming as she wrestled with her past and the lingering shadows it cast. What do you mean? She replied, her voice laced with confusion. I can't protect you from the truth, he said, urgency threading through his tone. You have no idea what you're dealing with. Come with me, and I'll explain everything, Mia, I started, but the doubt lacing her features cut me off. My mind raced, scrambling for anything I could say to untangle the web of fear and confusion that threatened to envelop us both. Mia, you can't listen to him, I urged. You're here, you're safe. We can figure this out together. She looked between him and me, a heartbreaking indecision holding her captive. And in that moment, the stranger lunged, closing the distance toward her, but something inside me snapped. Without thinking, I stepped forward, thrusting my arm out to block him, adrenaline surging in defiance of the fear clenching at my gut. Mia, this is your choice. Don't let him take it from you. The intensity of my plea hung in the night air, a silent clamor for her strength to rise up against her past. The split second of hesitation was palpable, and I could see the struggle mapping out on her face, the desire to run, to break free from the chains that had kept her from living. Before I could register it, she took a breath, her eyes igniting with determination. I want go with you, she said, her voice breaking like dawn after a long night. In that moment, something shifted in the atmosphere. The stranger's eyes darkened, fury boiling just beneath the surface. You're making a mistake, he hissed, and the words were more a threat than a warning. Mia, I began, but the dangerous glint in the stranger's eyes made me pause. Something desperate clawed in my chest, as if sensing that this was just the tip of the iceberg. Before I could react further, he reached into his coat and pulled out a small device. My heart sank as recognition flared in my mind. The glowing screen and the glint of metal flashed as he raised it toward us. Mia, I shouted, pushing her away defensively as a blinding pulse of light erupted between us, enveloping the night in a cascade of colors. It felt as though time suspended in that moment, drawing our fate into question. And then, just as suddenly, darkness spun us apart, leaving a vast, echoing void where silence settled over the park. When the light faded, I staggered back, disoriented, looking for Mia, but all I saw was the empty bench where we had just been sitting. Panic lanced through me as I stumbled, searching frantically in every direction. The echoes of the storm still resonated, but she was gone, swallowed whole by the tapestry of night. Mia. My voice cracked, trembling with desperation as I felt the cold bite of fear grip my heart. There was no sign of her, no trace of the connection we had shared just moments ago. The stranger had taken more than just her presence, he had taken a piece of my heart, thrusting me deeper into an abyss of uncertainty and confusion. Just then, I noticed something glimmering on the wet ground next to the bench. Leaning down, I picked up a delicate silver chain dainty, with a soft rose pendant at its center. Her necklace. The one she wore when we met. My fingers curled around it, and I could almost hear her soft laughter, the flicker of warmth she brought with her, now lost in the chaos. Mia. I cried again, my voice laced with a new wave of determination. If she had meant what she said, if she truly believed she was worth fighting for, then I would fight, even if it meant plunging deeper into the storm that threatened to engulf us both. With the weight of her necklace in my hand, I turned back toward the street, heart pounding with the realization that this was only the beginning of our journey, one filled with shadows and echoes, but also of light wherever love persisted. The rain had ceased, leaving the pavement slick and mirror-like as I dashed down the street, heart racing, stirring fervid fears alongside the drifting scent of wet earth. My eyes scanned every shadow, every flicker of movement, aching for a glimpse of Mia. The world around me had blurred into insignificance, all that mattered was her, the haunting echo of her name reverberating in my mind like a desperate prayer. As I ran, I could feel the chain's cool metal pressing into my palm, a tangible reminder of her, the warmth she had brought into my life, which now felt impossibly distant. I had to find her, I had to understand how someone so precious could vanish in the blink of an eye. Suddenly, a crash pierced through the darkness. I stopped short, heart thudding like a war drum as I turned to see a flickering light from down a narrow alley. A rhythmic flashing illuminated a figure hunched behind a dumpster. With a gut-wrenching mix of hope and dread, I approached cautiously, stifling my sudden urge to call out. As I neared, the figure came into focus. It was a man, disheveled and wild-eyed. A misplaced sense of guilt churned within me. Was he from her past? Did he know where she was? I stepped closer, ready to confront the stranger, but before I could utter a word, he lifted his gaze to meet mine. "Help me," he rasped, voice strained. There was a desperation there that resonated in the echoes of MIA's fear. I noticed the stark bruises lining his jaw and the tremor of his hands. "Please, they're coming for me." In that moment, I was struck by a memoria flash of Mia, her tenderness, and the deep sorrow that draped her voice when she spoke of her past. "Who's coming?" I pressed, cautiously stepping further into the swirling mist of uncertainty. "Those men," he whispered, glancing anxiously over his shoulder. "They took her. I saw them, the same ones. You have to act quickly. They won't stop until it's too late." "What do you mean?" "Mia? Where is she?" My heart twisted at the possibility, dread bubbling under the surface like a boiling pot. He trembled, kneeling deeper into the shadows as if hoping to disappear. "They're using her, you have to believe me." "They don't want her, they want what she knows is important to them, more than you know," he stammered. The image of MIA's soft laughter, her courage flashed through my mind, lighting a fire within me. "What does that mean?" I demanded, urgency coloring my voice. "Tell me." "A device, an agreement she made before." "It's complicated," he stuttered. "The same kind of tech that brought them to her before. It's valuable, and they'll go to any lengths to have her back." "Where are they?" I pressed, rage bubbling up like a tide, my heart thrumming violently in my chest. "I don't know. I swear. They move fast." The stranger quaked, his eyes wide with panic. "But I've seen them. They don't just take, it's worse than that. They want her to put the pieces together, something about saving their own. She's a key, and they think they can dictate its use." My breath hitched, rage and dread intertwining unbearably. How could the world I thought I knew twist in such disaster? My hands clenched painfully around the necklace. I had to do something. Suddenly, the faint echo of footsteps resonated in the distance, growing louder, piercing through the alarming haze of the alley. I would not be the person who lost her again. I grabbed the scruff of the man's shirt, dragging him to his feet. "We have to go. If they're hunting you, we can't stay here. We need to get to safety, and then we need to find Mia." We stumbled back into the rain-slicked streets, my mind racing as shadows loomed and twisting thoughts clawed at my heart. Who could I trust? Who could help us? And as I skimmed my gaze across the damp pavement, a flicker of movement caught my eye. A fleeting figure darting around the corner just ahead. An unsettling familiarity laced through my gut as I pushed forward, every fiber urging me to learn the truth. "Mia." I called once more, though a spark of fear laced my call. What if it wasn't her? As we rounded the corner, panic surged within me when a flash of light pierced through the fog, briefly blinding my vision. And when it faded, I stood there, breath caught in my throat, for the figure before me was undoubtedly her, eyes wide, but not the warm gaze I remembered. A shudder cascaded through me as I realized she wasn't alone. Side by side with her was the stranger from earlier, his arm draped protectively around her shoulders. MIA's expression shifted from fear to one of uncertainty, a fragile thread, ready to unravel. The tension, the tempest, it all spiraled into a single moment, a cruel reminder of everything at stake. The girl who had captured my heart was now surrounded by shadows, and a decision loomed that could seal her fate. "Mia!" I shouted again, raw vulnerability lacing my plea. But as her gaze flickered between us, I couldn't shake the feeling that the truth spread thin like a veil draped over despair, ready to slip away just when I needed it most. The chill of the evening air clung to my skin, an unwelcome reminder of the uncertainty hanging thick like fog. My heart raced as I stared between Mia and the nameless stranger who shielded her. The world blurred, focusing only on her fragile silhouette, the soft curve of her cheek marred by the shadows nipping at our heels. "Mia," I breathed, each syllable bursting with longing. "Are you hurt? Are you safe?" Her eyes, usually bright with life and laughter, were now fogged with confusion and fear. I don't know," she stammered, her voice faltering like a gentle flame fighting against the wind. He said I needed to come with him. My heart sank at her words, the weight of betrayal pressing on my chest. Why? I forced out, glancing at the stranger, the shifting fears around us rising like a tide threatening to drown us both. She moved slightly away from him, the distance palpable. I was trying to understand. He talked about my invention, something that could help save people? But I didn't know it would come to this. The stranger's face twisted with an eager desperation that set my teeth on edge. You have to trust me, he insisted, his voice shaking. I thought I could protect her, but their coming MIA's gaze drifted from his pleading expression back to mine, and in that moment, I saw uncertainty cascade across her features. I thought you were gone, she whispered, a single tear slipping down her cheek, illuminating the dread pooling within me. I didn't want to put you in danger, your safety is all that matters, I asserted, moving toward her, determined to close the distance that feels like a vast chasm. We have to leave now, together. Suddenly, a roar echoed from the distance, familiar yet terrifying, as headlights pierced through the mist. The chilling realization hit Methy had found us, and whoever they were, they would not stop until they had what they wanted. MIA's brow furrowed, panic rising in her chest. What if they catch us? She asked, gripping my arm as if I was the only solid thing left in this chaos. Well, find a way, I replied, even as every moment teetered on the edge of desperation. Trust our instincts. At that moment, a glimmer of light caught my eye, the promise of hope dancing on the horizon like a fragile dream. A small cafe stood nearby, its neon sign flickering defiantly against the encroaching darkness. We can hide there, I urged, tugging at MIA's wrist, my instincts kicking in without hesitation. We darted toward the cafe, the shadows spilling behind us like a menacing wave. As we reached the door, the stranger hesitated, torn between following us and whatever fate awaited him beyond. I can't, Mia is more important, I shouted, the urgency crackling in the air. She locked eyes with me, and in that brief moment, I saw the resolve start to form, a flicker igniting deep within her. The door swung open, and we slipped inside, the warmth enveloping us like an embrace. We rushed to the far corner, breathing heavily as they faded from view, at least for now. As our breaths mingled in the cozy dimness, I could feel the weight of the world pressing in, forcing my chest to rise and fall in sharp, agonizing patterns. Mia leaned her head against the window, damp strands of hair sticking to her forehead, eyes reflecting the chaos we'd escaped. What if they come here? She asked, her voice trembling. They won't think to look for us here. Not yet, I replied, though a gnawing sense of dread coiled within me. What if they didn't care? Then the stranger burst through the door, wheezing as he pressed against the frame, eyes wild. They're here, he gasped, panic distorting his features. In the flurry of chaos, our moment of reprieve shattered like glass. The light from the cafe dimmed against the intensifying shadows as we huddled closer together, each heartbeat resonating against the backdrop of our fear. Just then, MIA's voice pierced through the darkness, shaking but resolute. Wait. There's something I need to tell you both. My breath caught, every nerve tingling as I felt a shift, the truth lingering just out of reach. What is it? I whispered. But dread coiled like a serpent in my stomach. Her gaze turned serious, vulnerability layered beneath her surface. I didn't just create that technology for them. I struck a deal. And if they get it back, everything we've fought for will be gone. My stomach dropped, realization dawning like a frigid tide. You what? I thought it would save lives, she said, tears brimming in her eyes. I didn't know the risks, didn't know it would put us all in danger. I thought I was helping people. But I can't let them have it back. As her confession settled over the cafe like a heavy fog, the weight of her words fractured the fragile shield of hope. The stakes were higher than I'd ever imagined, and the enormity of it all threatened to drown me. In that moment of revelation, the door swung open once more, slamming against the wall as the silhouettes of men poured into the cafe, shadows darkening the warmth. Mia, I gasped, the world spiraling beneath my feet. Everything we had fought for, everything we had hoped for, it felt impossibly close, yet so heartbreakingly out of reach. As they advanced, my heart raced, pulsing with an insatiable need to protect. Run! I yelled, but the sound faded into the deluge of chaos enveloping us. Would I be able to save her one last time, or was our love destined to turn to ash? The room filled with the murmurs of startled patrons and the clatter of chairs as people scrambled for the exit, their fear feeding the tension in the air. The intruders loomed before us like waves crashing against the shore, relentless and unforgiving. I leaned closer to Mia, my instincts screaming to protect her, to keep her safe even as the odds stacked higher against us. "Stay behind me," I whispered, my voice low but urgent, and I felt her nod against my arm, the warmth of her fear seeping into me. The leader of the group stepped forward, a cold smirk playing at the corner of his mouth. "Mia. You've really outdone yourself this time. Do you think you can hide forever?" His voice dripped with mockery, as though the very thought was laughable. The stranger beside us pushed his way to the front, desperation painted across his features. "You don't understand. You can't take her. She didn't mean enough," barked the leader, cutting him off. The air thickened with his authority, and tension echoed within the cafe walls like a thunderstorm waiting to unleash its fury. I caught Mia's eye, her expression pleading, and there it was, the flicker of defiance buried beneath layers of fear. "I didn't create it for you," she said loudly, her voice rising above the clamor. "I thought it could make things better, help fix what was wrong." "Don't be foolish," the leader retorted, stepping closer, his eyes narrowing. "It's too late for that. The deal is struck, and now you're going to pay for your mistakes." The hushed ramblings of terrified patrons faded into the background, their faces a blur as I focused entirely on Mia, my heart pounding in rhythm with the brewing storm. I longed to reach out, to squeeze her hand and assure her we would figure this out together. But time was slipping away, and I could feel the bottom of my stomach drop as fear spiraled within me. Just as the tension reached its peak, a soft voice interrupted, startling us all. "Please." It was a waitress from behind the counter, her expression filled with apprehension but somehow imbued with quiet courage. "You don't have to do this here. Just let them go." All eyes shifted to her, surprise flickering in their gazes as if her unexpected plea had stirred something to glimmer of humanity amid the impending chaos. "MIA's safety is not up for negotiation," the leader snapped, but there was a tremor in his voice, an echo of doubt as the unexpected kindness from the waitress hung heavy in the air. "Can't we talk this through?" She pressed on, and I marveled at her bravery. "You don't want to cause a scene. People will remember this, they'll talk." "Silence her," a voice from the back ordered, and the tension thickened once more, making it all the more palpable. I glanced back at Mia, her eyes widened in realization, and my heart lurched. A split-second decision ignited within me. "Mia, get ready to run," I whispered, knowing it was only a matter of time before security or worse was called in. Without waiting for her response, I lunged forward, shoving the leader aside as I barreled past him. "Come on!" I yelled, adrenaline coursing through me as I felt Mia's hand grasp mine, anchoring me to her as we careened toward the back exit. The cafe seemed to explode with chaos. Shouting erupted behind us as tables were overturned and screams filled the air. But each heartbeat drowned out the noise, intensifying until all I could focus on was the pull of the door ahead, the promise of safety just a few feet away. In an instant, we burst through the emergency exit, hurtling into the night. The cool air hit us like a baptism of bravery, and for a fleeting moment, the weight of despair lightened. The cafe's neon lights flickered behind us, a final farewell to the chaos we left, but as we rounded the corner, a harsh slice of metal echoed against the pavement. We were not safe yet. I turned sharply, just in time to see one of the men from the cafe pursuing us, a determined look etched on his face. "Run!" I commanded, yanking Mia forward, but the sound of her name turned to ash in my throat as I heard what he screamed. "You'll regret this, Mia." "You think you can run from your own creation?" "Well, always find you." Panic surged through me, igniting an instinct to shield her from whatever lies ahead. I pulled Mia closer, furious at the cascading emotions threatening to overwhelm us, driving me to make a choice. "Stop!" I shouted, turning toward our pursuer, anger and fear knowing no bounds, but then a jarring realization slammed into me, leaving me breathless. "Mia!" I exclaimed, our eyes locking with a painful understanding. "What exactly did you create? What did you strike a deal for?" As the shadows from the cafe loomed behind us, the answer hung heavy in the air, promising a revelation layered in darkness. The world narrowed as her lips parted, the weight of the moment hanging thick. Would her truth be the final catalyst that separated us, or the lifeline we desperately needed? The night was thick with an uncertainty that clung to us as we took the corner, hearts racing in tandem, struggling against the nightmare that threatened to swallow us whole. MIA's face was pale, framed by damp strands of hair that clung to her forehead, but her eyes shimmered with that haunting defiance that sparked a flicker of hope amidst the chaos. "What did you create, Mia?" The whisper cut through the stillness of our escape, raw and filled with a desperation I couldn't hide. With every word, I could feel the tension between us grow heavier. It was as if her fear and my concern danced dangerously close to igniting an inevitable explosion. Point two, can't explain it all right now, she stammered, glancing back, her breath gleaming with panic. "They're after me for something I thought I could manage." "I didn't realize it would lead to this. What did you think you were managing?" I pressed, urgency pushing me forward as I forced her to focus on my gaze. "This isn't just about you anymore, Mia. It's about both of us." The distant sounds of hurried footsteps echoed behind us, reminding me that time was running out. "You don't understand. I thought if I could harness the energy. What kind of energy?" I interrupted, frustration bubbling beneath my skin. "If it's dangerous, if it could hurt you or anyone else, makeshift magic," she breathed out, her voice cracking, as if the words felt heavier than the world pressing down against us. "I thought I could create something good. Something real that could change lives." "What does that even mean?" I urged, my heart racing not just from fear but from the weight of her revelation settling deep within me. "Did you create something they want? Do they want to hurt you to get it?" Mia hesitated, and in that pause, I felt every possible outcome flash through my mind. Each scenario spun wildly, her captured and manipulated, or worse lost forever to forces beyond our comprehension. "There was a deal," Mia finally said, her voice barely a whisper now as we rounded the next street corner, desperation pulling at the edges of her resolve. "It was supposed to be simply way to address the issues I saw in the world. To fix wrongs, but I didn't fully understand what I was doing." It spiraled out of my control. I stopped, forcing her to look at me. "Mia, you can't go back to them, can you? You can't just hand over this whatever it is." A shudder of dread coursed through her. "I don't know," she admitted. "I've tried to hide it, but they'll stop at nothing to find me." Before I could respond, I heard a rustle in the alley behind us. The sound of footsteps grew louder, each step propelling a new wave of fear through me. I tightened my grip on MIA's hand, drawing her closer, and steeled myself for whatever would come. Then, dimly illuminated by shattered streetlights, a flicker of orange glowed ahead, the faint light of an open subway station. With a burst of determination, I pulled her towards it, hoping it would provide an escape route, even momentarily. As we neared the entrance, she stumbled slightly, her eyes glazing with uncertainty. "What if they find us?" "We won't let them," I said fiercely, forcing myself to believe it. "Stick close to me." "Well, think of something." We ducked beneath the entrance awning, breathless and heavy, as the door swung closed behind us. Inside, the murmur of passing trains filled the air, but the tension that radiated from Mia was palpable. I could see her struggle to contain the storm of emotions racing through her. "Mia," I said, cradling her hands with mine, grounding her. "We'll find a way to figure this out together. Just tell me everything you can. Maybe if we understand, we can come up with a plan." But just as those words slipped from my lips, the lights flickered, and for a moment, the station fell into an eerie shadow. A collective gasp escaped the few passengers waiting nearby, and soon, the anxiety that hung in the air morphed into confusion and trepidation. Then, amidst the dimness, a voice echoed from the shadows, surreal and unervingly familiar. "You should have stayed away from things that don't belong to you, Mia." I turned sharply, heart racing as my eyes met the predatory gaze of the cafe leader, who emerged from the shadows like a specter come to exact his due. The shock washed over me like ice water, furrowing dread into my chest. "Mia, run!" I shouted, but as I moved to shield her, another figure appeared, a woman this time, cloaked in darkness, her eyes glinting with an unsettling knowing. The distance between us cracked with the tension of inevitable confrontation. It became clear to escape, we had to face whatever they had come to claim. And as the subway lights flickered back to life, illuminating the path for our would-be captors, I grasped MIA's hand tighter. Whatever lay ahead would define me, and with a newfound intensity, I couldn't help but wonder, what kind of darkness had Mia truly invited into our lives, and would our heartbeats still echo together when the storm finally passed? Mia's breath caught in her throat as the cafe leader stepped further into the dim light, an air of malice surrounding him like a halo. I could see the wildness in his eyes, the sort that only came from those who felt powerful and unstoppable. The woman beside him glided forward with an elegance that belied the danger she represented, her expression one of playful menace, like a cat circling its prey. With my heart pounding, I pulled Mia closer, the warmth of her palm grounding me even as the chill of impending dread settled into my bones. Each beat of my heart felt like an urging to confront the darkness unraveling in front of us. "What do you want from her?" I managed to ask, my voice steadier than I felt. The cafe leader smirked, revealing teeth that seemed too sharp against the backdrop of the subway's harsh fluorescent light. "It's not what we want, but rather what she owes. Our little agreement has repercussions, and she's fallen short. We're here to collect." Mia shuddered beside me, her shoulders trembling as the realization sunk deeper. "No, I didn't let me explain," he interrupted, his voice dripping with condescension. "You thought you could conjure your little experiments without consequences. You've dragged your friends into this too, Mia. Is it worth it to endanger the innocent for your ambitions?" Each word was like a dagger to my heart, reminding me of the stakes at play. "Stop it," I said, my voice a strained whisper, sensing the shift in MIA's demeanor. "You're twisting this." The woman in the shadows leaned into the light, revealing a face that stirred a sense of familiarity deep within me. "I'm not here to twist anything, sweet boy. I'm here to show you the truth of this debacle." Her gaze flicked to Mia, and then back to me, each movement deliberate and calculated. "You think you're protecting her? How naive. You have no idea what you're standing in the middle of." I didn't want to hear more, didn't want to acknowledge the unease burrowing in my chest. But as instinct urged me to protect Mia, I understood this wasn't just about what she had created, but about understanding how to shield her from getting pulled further into darkness. "Whatever you've gotten her involved in, well, find a way out of this," I said, forcing conviction into my words. "Ah, the folly of youth," the cafe leader chuckled, an unsettling sound that resonated through the air. "You think willpower can bend reality? It may take your love to the grave, but it won't help her here." MIA's hand began to pull away from mine, and in that moment, a jolt of fear surged through me. "No! Don't!" I urged, refusing to let go even as her expression clouded with uncertainty. "I have to make things right," she whispered, her eyes pleading with a mix of determination and despair. "If I don't, they'll only keep coming. This is my mess. I'm not leaving you to face this alone," I said fiercely, gripping her hand tighter. "You were never meant to handle it alone." The woman stepped closer, gaze penetrating. "You might think your bond is unbreakable, but there are forces at play that defy even the strongest of connections." Just then, MIA's expression shifted, and the tears that brimmed in her eyes caught the light. "If I don't go with them, they will hurt you." "I won't let that happen, I can't lose you." A heaviness settled in the pit of my stomach. The warm, comforting light of hope we'd clung to was flickering dangerously. "You can't possibly believe they'll leave you alone if you give in to them," I urged. "This won't end well for either of us." "Enough!" The cafe leader snarled, frustration and impatience masking his earlier amusement. "The longer this drags on, the more I lose my patience. You've made your choice, Mia. Time to uphold your end." As he stepped forward, every breath felt heavy with impending doom. I refused to let fear overcome me, summoning every ounce of courage in my being. "Whatever happens next, No'll fight for you, Mia," I declared. But within the chaos that was building, a sudden flicker of light emerged much stronger than the subway lamps, radiating a warmth that drowned out the encroaching darkness. I turned instinctively. A group of strangers stood at the station entrance, light spilling around them like a barrier against the shadowy figures. "Get away from them!" one yelled, their voice strong, a protector amongst the chaos. The newcomers hesitated, confusion painted on their faces as they quickly assessed the scene. The cafe leader's expression shifted from confident to guarded in an instant as uncertainty crept in. "Mia," I urged, seizing the moment. "This might be our chance. We need to leave now." But as we began to pull away, a sharp shout cut through the air. "Mia! You can't run. The pact is not finished." I surged forward, dragging Mia with me, that brief light giving me hope. But as we rushed past the strangers, I heard the woman call out, her tone mocking yet insistent. You may escape today, but in the end, the darkness will find you both. And when it does. The rest of her words faded into a haunting echo as we ducked into the fray of fleeing passengers, adrenaline propelling us forward. The world around me spun as we navigated the chaos, but deep down, a fear began to blossom. What if we couldn't escape what was coming? As we slipped through the subway turnstiles into the world above, I glanced back only once, and it was there that I saw Luna, girl from our past, one I thought had vanished alongside the misery Mia had ignited. She stood in the shadows, eyes wide, desperately shaking her head. My heart plummeted. Whatever Mia had started, it wasn't just her circle at stake, our entire lives were about to unravel. And as I gripped Mia's hand tighter, I couldn't shake the feeling that in the very fabric of our shared moments lay the key to the darkness looming ahead, and we hadn't even begun to comprehend what that truly meant. The streets above felt both familiar and foreign as we stumbled into the thin drizzle clinging to the evening air. The chaos of the subway now seemed a distant memory, even as the remnants of fear and urgency clung to our skins. Mia's hand was still grasped tightly in mine, but I could sense how the weight of uncertainty hung on her shoulders like a shadow, threatening to pull her under. Mia, I started, attempting to steady my voice, but the words felt heavy on my tongue. What does this pact mean? What did you get yourself into? Her eyes roamed downward, searching the ground like it held all the answers we were both desperate for. I thought I could control it. At first, it was just curiosity experimenting with influences, trying to harness something. But her voice quivered, they became possessive. I'm not sure I ever had the chance to stop. The bell of a nearby church tolled, reverberating through the air like a warning. Each sound echoed Mia's hesitation, amplifying my fears. Is it really that bad? We can figure this out together. We have to. She met my gaze, her expression a tempest of vulnerability and resolve tangled together. No, we can't. They don't give second chances. If I confront them now, it could go worse. For all of us. I swallowed hard, feeling the inner turmoil shake my confidence. But you don't have to do this alone. I won't let you face them again. We can find a way to break the pact. A flicker of hope ignited in her eyes, only to dim as she shook her head slowly. Even if we did, there's still so much at stake. I don't want to drag you deeper into this mess. Mia's concern cut deeper than any threat from the cafe leader. Her words haunted me with a dreadful clarity. The fabric of our lives, woven so delicately, lay vulnerable and at risk. But that's the thing, I argued gently. You already did drag me into this. I chose to be here by your side, no matter the risk. Just then, we saw a flicker of commotion further down the block. A small cafe was shuttering its doors, its owner ushering out customers with a hurried wave, panic etched onto their faces. I pulled Mia closer as a whisper of unease scattered through the streets. Mia, I said, urgency flaring in my chest. We need somewhere safe. They'll come looking for you. We can't just keep running blindly. Before she could respond, I noticed a figure stepping from the shadows, someone unrecognizable in the rain-spattered late hours. It was a man with a face cloaked in determination, and although I instinctively took a step back, my heart raced with the promise of possibility. Are you Mia? He called out, his voice steady but urgent. You need to come with me now. I instantly tensed, ready to protect Mia at a moment's notice, but she seemed drawn to him, a spark of recognition flickering in her eyes. James? She breathed. Why are you here? The man nodded, stepping closer. I've been looking for you since the cafe. They've sent others. It's not safe. You have to leave with me. What do you mean? Who sent you? My voice echoed my disbelief, but the way Mia steadied herself spoke volumes. She recognized him, perhaps he was someone from her past, the hold from the shadows that had beckoned her into darkness. Mia, there's no time to explain, he urged, glancing nervously over his shoulder, scanning the street as if the shadows themselves held eyes. You and your friends are in danger. If they find you, there won't be a way out. The gravity of his words gripped me with icy dread, and I found myself wrestling with the fear of losing Mia again. We can't leave with him, I protested, gripping her hand tighter. You don't know what he's truly involved in. Mia, he pressed, his voice suddenly softer, all traces of urgency draining from his demeanor. If you want to protect them, you need to trust me. You need to come with me. It's the only way you can stay safe. The tension rattled inside of me, twisting my heart. I had fought to shield Mia from this chaos. Now, it seemed the very essence of my resolve hung on the fragile choices lying before us. Taking a breath, I turned to her. This is your choice to make, I said softly, the words heavy but clear. But whatever happens, you'll be right here, ready to face the uncertainties. Tears welled in Mia's eyes as she weighed the man's words against our mounting fears. At what cost? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper, yet it thundered in my heart. How can I know I won't be putting you in danger? As the droplets of rain began to mix with the tears cascading down her cheeks, time seemed to hang, each moment stretching into an eternity. Before I knew it, the decision loomed over us like a dark storm. Mia turned to the man, who still waited with a cautious resolve, and with a resolve born out of desperation, she took a step forward. Okay, she said, her voice trembling but firm. I'll go. My heart shattered, pieces slicing through me like glass. No. Mia, I reached out, but it was too late as she released my hand. As she stepped closer to James, the shadows around us flickered ominously. The chilling realization settled over me like a heavy cloak. Mia! I screamed, my voice rising against the haunting love that was spiraling away. But then, just as she turned her head back towards me, a loud crack echoed through the air, an unmistakable burst of energy slicing through the night. Then, a shimmer of light erupted at the far end of the street, bathing everything in an otherworldly glow. Mia! No! The lights began to swirl ominously, and as they danced, the world warped around us, casting shadows that threatened to consume everything in their path. I felt the ground shift beneath my feet, and in that moment, as all feeling of control slipped from my grasp, I had an unsettling realization. Our bond would be tested in ways none of us could have foreseen. Desperate, I lunged towards her, but just before I was engulfed by the chaos, I heard a whisper chilling my very core. The truth will always come for you, Mia. Whatever happens, you cannot escape the pact. With that, the light enveloped her figure, pulling her away, until all I was left holding was empty air, and the echoes of uncertainty surrounding us never felt more haunting. I woke up to the sound of a siren wailing in the distance, its lonely cry threading through my consciousness like a strand of silver. The world felt soft around me, muted by the weight of sleep, but one thing instantly surged back: Mia. My heart twisted painfully, echoing with the absence of her warmth beside me. Panic flooded in as I bolted upright, taking in my surroundings: a small room, bare and sparsely decorated, flooded with the cold light of morning. Every fiber in my being screamed for her, yet the ache of loss settled heavy in my chest. I didn't know what had happened after the lights swallowed her whole, but I did know one thing: I had to find her. I had fought for her so far, and I would continue to battle whatever shadows loomed over her past. With trembling hands, I swung my legs over the side of the bed and pushed myself up, chasing away the lethargy that threatened to drown me. I scoured the small room, searching for any clue as to where Mia might be. A folded piece of paper caught my eye atop a rickety wooden dresser. I unfolded it slowly, anxious hope building within me as I read: the truth is never far behind. Meet me where it all began. James. My heart skipped a beat. James. He was the last person I had seen her with, the gatekeeper to whatever world Mia had tried to escape. Without hesitation, I slipped on my jacket, my pulse racing as I made my way out the door and into the bright morning light. As I navigated the streets, memories of Mia surged forward, her laughter ringing through my ears, the ghost of her smile chasing away the shadows of fear. I could still feel the essence of what we had shared, a connection that felt branded into my very being. No matter the darkness, I vowed to bring her back. We would find our way through this storm together. Arriving at the cafe where we had shared our first date, I was struck by the vivid memories of hope woven through our time there. The air felt different now, heavy and charged, as if the past had soaked into the very walls, and waiting could shift time itself. Scanning the street for any sign of James or Mia, I nearly missed the flicker of movement at the edge of my vision. There she was. Mia stood on the sidewalk, yet she appeared as if caught in a dream, her gaze distant and unfocused. Relief flooded through me, but it quickly morphed into panic at the shadows that draped around her. A fleeting figure emerged beside her: James, a stoic guardian with a determined demeanor. Mia! I called out, breaking into a run before I realized something pulled at my heart, anchoring me in place as she turned. In her eyes, I saw confusion, fear, but also the flickering light of determination. She stood tall, but her shoulders carried the weight of decisions made, and my chest constricted as I contemplated how this moment could change everything. Don't! James urged me, stepping slightly in front of her, painted with concern. You don't understand, she knows exactly who she is. I hurled back, unwilling to let his fears dictate my decisions. But there's still time, Mia, you don't have to face this alone. Do you understand what's at stake? He argued, panic threading through his voice. They come for her. They will not stop. I don't care. I shouted, my voice echoing with the fervor of wanting to bridge the distance separating us. What matters is that you're not alone, Mia. Please, let's leave. We can figure it out together. Her breath hitched, and for a fleeting moment, I saw the flicker of doubt blink in her eyes, the uncertainty that had danced around us from the very start. No, you don't understand, it's a part of me now. The past isn't something I can run from, but you can fight it, I urged, stepping closer, every heartbeat amplifying the tension in the air. You make the choice, Mia. We can rewrite our story. As she stood before me, uncertainty clashing against the remnants of hope, I realized the depth of her struggle. But in that moment, the world could have collapsed, and it still would not matter, because she would still be here beside me. I held my hand out, palm open, the warm memory of the silver chain she had lost still wrapped tightly in my fist. It'll always be here, I said, my voice steady, laced with the truth of every moment we had shared. I believe in you, believe in us. Whatever this pact is, it doesn't define you and it won't take you away from me. Tears pooled in her eyes as she searched my face for reassurance, and within those lingering moments, I saw the floodgates of fear begin to break open. But what if then we'll handle it together? Nothing is going to stop us. In her expression, I sensed the dawning realization take root, a spark igniting within her that began to drive the shadows back, illuminated by the light of resilience. Then came the noisy low hum that seemed to shift the atmosphere, coiling down the street. I glanced toward the source and felt a wave of dread wash over me. Dark figures emerged from the encroaching shadows, their feet pounding steadily, a chilling reminder of the danger that awaited us. Mia, we have to move. James shouted, veering sideways to shield her as I tightened my grasp on her hand. And finally, with newfound strength surging through her, she shook her head, met my gaze, and stepped forward. No more running, she declared, her voice steady, laced with defiance. We confront this together. Right now. The atmosphere shifted as she took her place beside me and, without a second thought, I clasped her hand tightly in a lifeline amidst the tempest of uncertainty. The oncoming figures halted at our stand, confusion flashing across their expressions, and for a brief moment, we were locked in that heavy standoff, our hearts quickened by the potential for either possibility. But I didn't waver, and neither did Mia. We are not defined by the mistakes of the past, Mia voiced again, speaking now with unshakable confidence. I'll break this pact whatever it takes, I refuse to let it control me. As her words hung in the air, the dark figures shifted, glancing at each other uneasily as if the very conviction in her voice had shaken the foundation of their pursuit. There's nothing you can do to change what's coming. One of them taunted, but another voice, soft yet stern, interjected from behind them. Except break the cycle. Mia, you have the power to rewrite your fate. From the shadows, a woman stepped forward, her gaze unwavering, the piercing conviction in her voice radiating intensity. I barely recognized her at first, but the warmth echoed the connection she had once shared with Mia. We came to help. It's time to fulfill your potential. Mia's posture shifted, gaining strength from the unexpected arrival. Who are you? But there was no time, as the figures crept in closer, their resolve shadowing our own. If we were to win, we must strike together, not as individuals carved by our past, but as a united front forged through love and resilience. Together. Now! I shouted, and taking a deep breath, knowing what true courage meant, we thrived on the heartbeats echoing our shared conviction. Perhaps shadows would always linger, but they would not define where we stood, not today, not ever. As one, we faced the darkness, Mia beside me. Together we would break the chains that sought to bind her, and together we would illuminate the dawn. Let's do this, she affirmed, and in that moment, we were not just two souls entwined, we were unyielding against the dark. And as we stepped forward, hands intertwined, we embraced the future that awaited Yuson, where love and light would conquer even the deepest shadows cast by the past. The darkness might try to come for us, but we would rise together, fierce and free. Because, together, we were unstoppable. The last remnants of fear began to dissipate as we took our stand, hearts aligned, ready to conquer what lay ahead. And as I looked deep into her eyes, the promise echoed loud and clear: no matter the storm, we would always fight for each other. With love as our armor, we took the first step into an uncertain future, knowing it would be ours to shape, and ours to embrace. And in the echo of that promise, I finally understood, love wasn't just the beginning of our story, it was the unwavering force that would guide us home.